I'd like to invite you to open your Bibles in front of you to Daniel chapter 6. Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel out of the lion's den. Maybe it should be better called. I'm just going to follow up a little bit with last week. I talked a little bit about this book. I said I hadn't read it. I read a little bit of it since, and it's really, really good. So if you went out of here last week and said, man, I really struggle with anxiety a little bit, and the sermon was good, or maybe not good, but I'm still struggling with it. Honestly, I don't say this very often, but pick up this book. It's really good. There's two of them. One's by Joyce Meyer, and one's by John MacArthur. I have this John MacArthur one. So Anxious for Nothing is just spectacular teaching for those of us who are follow along the lines of a tendency to be anxious. All right. Fix this a minute. I'm going to read Daniel chapter 6, which is on page 930 in the Bible in front of you. Excuse me here. Pleased Darius to appoint 120 satraps to rule throughout the kingdom, with 3 administrators over them, one of whom was Daniel. The satraps were made accountable to them so that the king might not suffer loss. Now Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. At this, the administrators and the satraps tried to find grounds for charges against Daniel in his conduct of government affairs, but they were unable to do so. They could find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. Finally, these men said, "We will never find any basis for charges against this man Daniel unless it has to do something with that law of his God." So the administrators and the satraps went as a group to the king and said, "Oh, King Darius, live forever." The royal administrators, prefects, satraps, advisors, and governors have all agreed that the king should issue an edict and enforce the decree that anyone who prays to any god or man during the next 30 days, except to you, O king, shall be thrown into the lion's den. Now, O king, issue the decree and put it in writing so that it cannot be altered, in accordance with the law of the Medes and Persians, which cannot be repealed. So King Darius put the decree in writing. Now, when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room with the windows open toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before. Then these men went as a group and found Daniel praying and asking God for help. So they went to the decree and spoke to him about the royal. So they went to the king and spoke to him about the royal decree. "Did you not publish a decree that during the next 30 days, anyone who prays to any god or man except you, O king, would be thrown into the lion's den?" The king answered, "The decree stands in accordance with the law of the Medes and Persians, which cannot be repealed." Then they said to the king, "Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, O king, or to the decree you put in writing. He still prays 3 times a day." When the king heard this, he was greatly distressed. He was determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sundown to save him. Then the men went as a group to the king and said to him, "Remember, O king, that according to the law of the Medes and Persians, no decree or edict that the king issues can be changed." So the king gave the order. And they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. The king said to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the rings of his nobles, so that Daniel's situation might not be changed. Then the king returned to his palace and spent the night without eating and without any entertainment being brought to him, and he could not sleep. At the first light of the dawn, the king got up and hurried to the lion's den. When he came near the den, he called to Daniel in an anguished voice, "Daniel, servant of the living God, is your God, whom you serve, continually been able to rescue you from the lions?" Daniel answered, "O king, live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight, nor have I ever done any wrong before you, O king." The king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the den. And when Daniel was lifted from the den, no wound was found on him, because he had trusted in his God. At the king's command, the men who had falsely accused Daniel were brought in and thrown into the lion's den, along with their wives and children. And before they reached the floor of the den, the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. Then King Darius wrote to all peoples, nations, and men of every language throughout the land, "May you prosper greatly. I issue a decree that in every part of my kingdom people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed. His dominion will never end. He rescues and he saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. So Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. This is the word of the Lord. That's a great story, right? This really captures our imagination when we were young. I remember thinking about it because, why don't these lions eat Daniel? They're sitting there hungry, and you think, what happened? Were they hungry and the angel put a muzzle on them and they were like, ark, ark, ark. They couldn't quite bite him? Or were they just all nice like cats and they purred really loudly? Because I'm thinking lions are bigger, they purr louder, right? Was Daniel scared, or did he get thrown in with complete confidence? There's a lot of ways this scenario could have played out. It's great fodder for the imagination. It turns out that it's really just a subpoint at the end of the story that grabs our attention for the rest of it. And so I'm going to talk about it, but really I'm not going to talk about him being in the lion's den that much because it's a result of a whole lot of other things. I want to get into this by talking about just some situations in my own life. So Marcia and I have a minivan. It's a great vehicle. It's not very flashy, but it's a good vehicle. About a year ago, we noticed that there was some water underneath where you sit as a driver. So some weird things were happening. Parts of the carpet were turning sort of white with water, and then it would evaporate or something. And it's winter, right? Last winter is when we started noticing it. So you think it's snow melting off our boots, and it just doesn't ever get dry. But it happened in the summer too, but I got a lot of things to do, so I didn't pay that much attention. But yesterday I finally got to it and pulled the carpet back, and it's just, not a ton, but a lot of water, probably a gallon of water underneath that carpet and the mat. And I pulled it back further, and there's more water, and I'm thinking, what is going on? There's a little post that's completely rusted off, and I think, I didn't know this problem was here at all, but there it is, and I still have no idea how to fix it at all. And it's not a problem like Haiti or South Carolina, but we have these things in our life where there's evidence, but then it gets pulled back and it's greater and greater, and we get to a spot where we really don't know how to fix it at all. Maybe only God has the answer. The other story I want to share is really when I first started here. I started here about 4.5 years ago, and I shared the story a little bit, but some of you weren't here then, so I'll share it again. So I've been here about maybe 4 weeks, and one Wyoming, the church planting effort was here. They said, hey, we have some money for you to go to this thing Home Missions is sponsoring called the Prayer Summit. And it turns out, we know Moses and Renee now, but Moses was kind of the new director of Home Missions back then. And he said, you know what? We need to pray. We need to be people of God that pray. And he organized this Prayer Summit out in California. So I went there 7 weeks after I started here. The first thing I got when I went there was a nice red Camaro. Remember that? That was awesome. And had a great time driving that around. But the biggest event that I remember from the summit was when Pastor Moses and his father-in-law and his dad did this very quiet conversation, non-flashy conversation. And Moses asked his father-in-law, so what sort of are the defining events that have gotten you through ministry? And he talked about always pray and never give up. And he shared story after story where he kind of come to the end of himself and then took it to God in prayer, and God gave insight and direction and wisdom, and often, honestly, conviction about how he was going in the wrong direction. And God got him through that spot in his life. So when I look at this passage this morning, he gets thrown into the lion's den because of prayer. But the passage isn't really about the lion's den, or it's not really about prayer. It's really, I think, about somewhere along the lines of this. And my statement this morning that I want to try to drive home is that prayer is both a result of and a foundation for a life of faithfulness. It's what we do when we don't have answers. But because we have a life of prayer, we also are equipped to do things in our lives we never would otherwise if we didn't have that life of prayer. So prayer is both a result of and a foundation for a life of faithfulness. And it also is a foundation for experiencing God's sovereignty. It's really what the book of Daniel is about. It's God's sovereignty. God is sovereign over the affairs of men, even of kings. It's a big word. What it means is that God is a ruler. But when you have a life of prayer that's a foundation for lot about this time because there's a lot of pillars and stone things that have stories on them about this time. So we know all this stuff from basically archaeological digs and the study of history. So we know these kings. Darius appears nowhere in this at all. He's not Cyrus, or he is, just by another name. This text has both names in the actual text. It could be that he's either Cyrus, or it could be that he's a guy named Gabaru. Doesn't sound quite as good, does it? Darius basically means the one who holds a scepter. Gabaru might have been the name, we don't know for sure, but what we do know is he's a king of Babylon itself, and he has authority to establish Daniel as a ruler in this area. People often look at the book of Daniel and look at it in terms of end times, and that's interesting, that's good, perhaps helpful to think about when Jesus is coming back, but certainly there's a lot of investigation to go, like what actually happened. And as you look through the chapters of Daniel, if you're reading Daniel at all, you'll see that as you go ahead, the stories of Daniel's visions are from actually a time before this. The point for this morning is that Daniel is now a very old man. He's 81 years old. He survived a lot of regime changes, and he's still in authority somehow, probably because of who he is. In the next verse here, it says this. How is that? Daniel has an excellent spirit. See that? Then Daniel became distinguished above all the other high officials and the satraps because he has an excellent spirit. In the NIV it says he had exceptional character, but in the Hebrew and the ESV, the English Standard Version, what the word is, he has a spirit excellent. A ruach, that's the Hebrew word for spirit. Katira, which is excellent. He had a most excellent spirit. I can't help, I'll leave that alone. Anyway, he was a great guy. What does it mean to be a great guy? Well, like we talked about last week, he had dealt with issues of anxiety and fear. He just is a good guy. So first of all, he understood that evil and incompetent rulers happen. He had been through many of them. Not a bad lesson for today. Lots of messed up stuff happens nationally, politically. If we lived in other countries, we would know this natively. We sort of have to learn it here in America because we have some pretty good, at least not completely, I won't go there. Anyway, understood evil and incompetent rulers happen. It's a good thing to know for someone with an excellent spirit. He still knew deeply that God is in control, that God is sovereign. He knew this 100%. And he also knew it for his own self. It's not just a big picture, he also knew it for his own self. He could trust God with his self, with his life. Also a good lesson. The anxiety that we have about the national scene doesn't mean God's not in control of the national scene and of our own self. He had learned both faith and hope. He had learned to put away anxiety and fear. He had learned to sort of walk in relationship with God and in faith and hope. And because of this, he didn't self-sabotage and had 1,001 administrative decisions. You know how this goes. People threaten you and you get angry and resent them, and suddenly you're not a good leader anymore. He was free to live with joy and confidence. So one of the things that if you say someone has an excellent spirit, they're just fun to be around. They're functional, they don't get angry if you say the wrong thing. And so Daniel had an exceptional spirit, and more than likely, people just liked him. And you see that played out in the fact that Darius liked him. Darius was about 62 years old at the time, again from historical records, and it's in the Bible. Here Daniel is as an older guy, he's 80, probably didn't know him that long, but here's a guy who knows how to administrate, a compelling person. Probably they were starting to really become true friends. He wanted to appoint him king over everything. He's like, I like this dude. Why? Because he has an excellent spirit. All right, so that's the two people. Well, everybody else doesn't like it too much because they don't have excellent spirits, right? So one of the things that Nate's dad said, he gets up every morning at 5:30 and prays till like 9. It's this huge time of prayer in the day, and I think also during the rest of the day. I thought, this is awesome, I need to do that. And so I got up in the morning and put a piece of paper in the car passenger seat. It said, pray first, and that's what I did for a long time. But then it got busier and busier and busier, and eventually that became harder and harder and harder, and I got more and more distracted. And I thought, well, how am I going to keep doing this, right? Because you know and you learn, and then you kind of forget, and then you don't do it anymore. And there's a lot of reasons, right? We get busy, distracted, tempted, lots of things happen. And I could tell you some of those reasons. But what I want to do this morning is I want to talk about, food. Because this is going to be more memorable than things you might already know. So, all right. So this is an old thing. If I just tell you to go pray 3 times a day, you're probably not going to necessarily do it because it's just an old recipe. And I have some other old recipes here too. So my mom loves kuwait. She just loves, how many of y'all love kuwait? Right. We always had kuwait growing up. I don't even know what we ate it on, but it was always around. It was dessert with kuwait, and I like it, but she always had it. But before kuwait came in frozen containers in the fridge, you remember this stuff, green whip? Yeah? So there was a time when you couldn't get kuwait in a frozen container in the freezer, and if you wanted to have kuwait in your house, you had 2 options. One was to find a cow and get the cream and make it. The other was to get a package called Dream Whip, and you would put this with milk and a little bit of vanilla, and you'd whip it up, and it would turn into kuwait. Did it work? But it definitely worked. We always had this stuff in the house, and we would have kuwait on a lot of things. We had a lot of good food from the bars of kuwait when you're younger. But if I told you, go and get this stuff, whip it up, and you're going to have some great kuwait, would any of you do that? No. Except maybe those of us who want to relive a memory, right? Another one is this. This is gelatin, unflavored gelatin. Y'all know what to do with gelatin, right? What do you make with gelatin? Jello, right? So, before there was Jello, there was this. That's a thing. That's a real thing. Anybody ever made aspic? A couple of you, oh yeah. If you're a chef, you know how to do this. It's actually quite healthy. What this is it's gelatin, which you make from the connective tissue of, animals. You boil it down, you get this sort of nice substance, you boil it down some more, and you get this beautiful thing. Now, some of you make soup, and you pull it out of the fridge, and then you put it in the microwave, and the gelatin and stuff disappears. It's like that, but you don't heat it up, you just eat it. This is called aspic, and this was an art form in the 1950s. A lot of things happened in the 1950s that should not be repeated. This is one of them, right? There was some funky food back in check the old recipe books, all right? So this is a beef aspic. This is, look at that stuff, man. It's so heavy. It probably tastes good. It's really healthy. But, all right, so this is a vegetable aspic. You can do a lot of different things. The French, the French are not shy about naming their foods. They have an aspect called mother and daughter, right? It's chicken meat with eggs in it. Like, are you serious? I'm sure it tastes good, but it's a little bit awkward. So this is the thing that happened. If I tell you that, go do this thing, you're not going to do it. Prayer is a lot like that, I think. If I tell you to go pray this way or that way or pray 3 times a day, you're like, okay, that's probably valid, that's an art form, but how am I actually supposed to do that? So, to that end, I want to bring up this Puri cookbook. Now, I lived for a time in a place called Peoria, but if you're from me, called Puri. And they made this cookbook when I was in kindergarten, so I have a little recipe in here for chocolate chip cookies, and it includes about maybe 5 pounds of flour, 16 chocolate chips, and, I don't know, half a cup of sugar or something. It would have never worked, but they asked us what we thought. They put it in here to sort of mock our ignorance. When I got older, I used this a lot. We made bars, cookies. There's something about growing up in an ethnically Dutch household in the 1970s or whatever. We got really good, and this whole first part of the recipe book is basically taking the combination of flour, sugar, and butter to an art form, right? It's just sheer art. There's so many things you can do with flour, sugar, and butter. None of them are terribly healthy. Suffering is often the initial reward for obedience. Not familiar? Some of you have been really obedient in the last year, and because of it, you're suffering right now. And it's hard. The first thing that happens when you try to beat an addiction is you suffer. The first thing that happens when you give a lot of money away is you don't have it. God might return it tenfold, but probably not, honestly. You might give it back somehow. The first thing that happens when you step out in faith and sort of engaging someone in a new way is often it's awkward. The initial reward for obedience, honestly, is often suffering. Suffering doesn't mean that God is punishing you. Suffering just means that in some cases you were obedient. If someone goes down to Haiti right now and tries to help, they're gonna suffer. But this is what happens. Greater blessing and authority are often the reward, the subsequent reward for obedience plus suffering. So if you're obedient, you will likely suffer, and out of that comes greater blessing and often authority. And often God brings you to where He wants you to be. I struggle with this a lot, because as the counsel people often come to me when they're suffering. And sometimes it's because they were disobedient and enemies stomping all over them. But sometimes it's because they were obedient. And the journey then is to walk through that place of suffering to greater blessing and greater abundance. I'm just going to stop for a moment and pray. And then I'll finish this. Lord, I know right now people in this room are suffering greatly. And there's no easy answer. They're going through health stuff, they're going through housing issues, they're going through dealing with people in their family who are just really, really sick, and there's no easy answer. Father, I pray that you give your presence as they walk through this valley, and that you speak to them, that you give them disciplines of prayer, that you reveal your heart to them through dreams and visions like you did to Daniel. And you give them interpretive frameworks and interpretive gifts to equip them to live as your servants. And then you bring us all into the glorious freedom of the children of God in this world and the next. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. This is another way to say it. This is what happens. A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet. At this point, this should start reminding me of something. At the first light of dawn, the king got up and hurried to the lion's den. Ironically, he had been up all night with no one to pray to. Then he made a command that he couldn't pray to anyone except himself. And he knows he don't have the power to rescue Daniel, so he's up all night with no one to pray to. Pretty deeply ironic. I'm sure the people who wrote this had a good time writing that. He had no one to pray to. He gets up in the morning and asks Daniel, if he was your God, he would save you. And Daniel was. He got up, got him out. And they lived happily ever after, but there's one more part at the end of this passage that is worth noting. It's pretty disturbing. They don't put it in the Sunday school material. But what the king did is he took the families and the men who had falsely accused Daniel and threw them into the lion's den. So not only the guys, but their families too. It's really a violent, horrible part of the story. I want to note it because we here who live in America don't really have a sense of the need for justice in the world. We've never, if you lived here your whole life, had our whole villages wiped out. We've never had our wives and daughters raped and killed. We don't have mutilation marks on our bodies and have friends and family that are missing arms, or we've never lived under just outright tyranny, where there's no recourse whatsoever for local justice or for national justice. But something that gets played out in the Bible time and time again, and also all around the world, is this very dynamic. Where there's faithful people that are living in a relationship with God of prayer, and then God moves. And God moves in two ways. Some people get brought into a relationship
called the Son of God, who was Julius Caesar. Jesus is the one who did not rail and teach against that rule directly. Rather, he taught people how to live and demonstrated how to live. He was faultless in his conduct. He had no corruption because he was trustworthy. He was neither corrupt nor negligent. A conspiracy was laid for Jesus by jealous people who appealed to the authorities of the day to get him killed. He was sentenced to death by the preferred brutal method of execution of that day, not by lions, but by crucifixion. He was placed in a hole in the ground, dead already. A stone was put over it, and a seal was placed on him to make sure that Jesus' situation would not change. Like Daniel, he didn't stay there. An angel ministered to Daniel, and an angel helped roll the stone back so that it was evident that Jesus wasn't there. But an angel showed up in both cases. Jesus raised himself, so to speak. He's God. An angel saved Daniel. This might be the most important thing. Daniel came out of his lion's den, his hole in the ground, and was given greater authority to rule that entire kingdom. He came out with greater authority to rule the kingdom. Jesus, and even better, Daniel came out to rule an eternal kingdom as the King of Kings. A kingdom that would grow and grow and grow to fill the whole earth, as Daniel says. He's an even better Daniel in every way. He gave us an example of a life of faithfulness, and because he's an even better Daniel, he gave us the Spirit, the most excellent Spirit, to live in us so that we can follow him and live our lives too. This is the main phrase that I've been trying to bring home. The book of Daniel is about God's sovereignty and recognizing that, living into that, experiencing that, and having trust and faith in that. It's about prayer. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had this incredible life of prayer. Because of that, they went through these things and experienced God's tremendous saving power and sovereignty in every situation. Because of that, they had ministered a kingdom that was tremendous at the time. But really, it's about relationship and faithfulness, and prayer being both a result of and a foundation for that life of faithfulness. And that's what we're invited into. So what would it look like over the next month, year, if we continually walk into this and think, here's the goal. I want to have these times of prayer during the day, set aside in ways that are uniquely for me. Maybe they're different. Maybe I walk in the morning, maybe I kneel at noon, and maybe I don't know what you're going to do at night. Eat aspect and pray. It doesn't look like that. Something that's uniquely you, where you can nurture a relationship with God. What if we did this as a church? Honestly, most of the things we do as a church are not, first of all, times of prayer. What if we did this as a church? What if we somehow reorientated our lives to times of prayer? And they weren't sort of quiet times of prayer, but they were powerful times of prayer that were exciting, and we come to and see God work. Every church that I know of that prays powerfully and is faithfully, God moves, miracles happen, people come to Jesus Christ. And every church that I see that's growing and is full of God's power is a church that prays in some way. What if more and more we lived into this as a church? There's a picture, and I think it might be on this. You see it there. Daniel in the lion's den. There we go. I like this picture. It's not that realistic, but he's an older guy. I like that. Probably more stuff on the floor. But there is Daniel, completely surrounded by things that are going to eat him, and this is really symbolic of his entire life. But there he is, he's praying. And I want you to consider this picture as we close in prayer, because I know that so many of us have the things around us that are threatening to consume us. Let this be a posture in prayer as we go to this morning. Lord Jesus Christ, you are God. And you know what's going on in our lives. You know the things we're dealing with, the things that threaten us, the things that are threatening to consume us. Father God, I pray that you would give us your most excellent Spirit so we can be filled with you and have the confidence to take a step of faith. I pray that you would help us put away fear, and that you would put away fear out of our lives. I pray that you would help us put away anxiety say, yes, my God was able. He shut the mouths of the lions and raised us up. Father, thank you for sending Jesus, who walked the same path of obedience, accusation, condemnation, death, resurrection, so that he could be our Lord and Savior. Thank you that you live eternally and are part of an eternal kingdom. I pray that we be equipped to live our lives every day this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when we perhaps we've forgotten what we talked about today. That you would be there present, you meet us wherever we are, and show up with your presence and power and your word to people around us. And Friday and Saturday, equip us to live our lives as you called us to live each one of us during the week. In Jesus' name, we lift all these things